Well, good afternoon to you, one and all. And again, as we say all the time, we are grateful to God for such an awesome privilege and opportunity for us to be able to come into your living room, your dining room, your kitchen, wherever you are. We are grateful to God for you coming on and sharing with us. We are asking that as we move forward in our sound of blackness, that you would share and that you would let people know that this event is going on and you really want them to be a part of what the Lord is doing and how He is blessing. I have some tremendous guests that are with us on today. And so we look so forward to them sharing. And so we like to come on a couple of minutes early. That way, it gives us an opportunity to be able to say hello to those of you who are getting on and sharing with us on this afternoon. So please, ma'am, please, sir, if you would be Thea, how are you this afternoon? If you would be kind enough to share, excuse me, as we prepare ourselves for this episode of The Sound of Blackness. I see some of Dr. Fletcher's folk are on here. We're grateful to God for that. And so we are looking for, come on, give us a shout out. Let us know that you are there. I see Thea. I see you, Cora. How are you? You being good? Okay, good. Family is well, driving me crazy and taking all my money. So you know they doing good. Okay, all right, yeah. That's what they do. That's what they do. Linda, good to see you. Erica, Carolyn, Elder Treese, thank you. Charmaine, I saw you when you came on there. I know you here to support your pastor. I know what's up. Minister Sarah, how are you? Marcus, what's going on? Listen, been praying for you, and I know God has brought you through that moment because here's what God will do. Delay is not denial. Always remember that. Whatever you do, always remember that, my friend. Love you, praying for you. Okay, Minister Faye, good to see you. Ella May, dear, how are you? Sylvia Scott, good to have you with us. Lady Bowling, and how are you today? Debbie, good. Dina, good to have you with us. Please share, please share. Please share. We want to get this out to as many people as we possibly can so that they can hear what's going on and how God is just blessing. And we're just looking. Pastor Jimmy Rogers is on. I missed him. Hold on. Let me go back here and look. Y'all popped up here so fast, I couldn't see everybody. I don't see him. But if you're there, Pastor Rogers, thank you so much for being with us on today. I want to take a look at a couple of things before we get ready. We got 2 minutes before we will go live. And so we're grateful again for the number of you who are participating on today. Okay. And so we know that you're here. Please share, please share, please share, please share. I don't know. I don't know if he is or not. I saw Debbie say that, and I'm hunting for him now. Um, Marcus, don't start no stuff. But you know what? I'm going to do it just for you, my friend. Just for you. Okay. Good afternoon, Carletta. Good to have you with us. Glad you made it home safe and sound. And so we're glad about that. So I see you, Denise, Iris, as you're coming on. Give us a quick shout out. We're getting ready to get started in 1 minute. But we wanted to say hello, howdy do, and all of that kind of stuff to everybody that's on. Lois, how you feeling? Good to have you with us on this afternoon. We are grateful for those that are on the Facebook pages as well as our YouTube page. We are just thankful to God that you have taken time out of your hectic schedules. Sundays are busy days where there's a lot going on and a lot happening. Don, how are you? Good. Good to see you. Okay. Sister Rains, how are you? Thank you so much for being on with us, Barbara Foots. I see you as you were coming on board. Well, let me get ready to get started with these introductions. They are quickly going to introduce themselves, and we're going to move on from there, and we will begin our moment of questioning. The first person that I'm going to introduce you to is Dr. Gerald Fletcher. He's going to say hello. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll take him backstage and go to the next group. Dr. Fletcher.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we are certainly grateful for this opportunity. For those who don't know, I'm Pastor Fletcher. I pastor the New Life Baptist Church here in Toledo, Ohio, and I am also the Vice Dean of the Congress of Christian Education for the Ohio Baptist State Convention under Dr. Michael Harrison. Again, glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Pastor Fletcher. I appreciate that. And the next guests we have are the dynamic trio. Okay. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves one by one, and we will go from there.
Hello, Pastor. I'm Lynette Brown. I am a member of the wonderful church, Union Baptist. I am also employed with Mahoney County Children's Services. I'm a licensed social worker. I am the mother of 4 children and 1 grandchild. Right here is 2 of my daughters. And I'm also married to the 51st mayor of the city of Youngstown, Camille Brown.
Fantastic. Girls, what would you like to say?
I'm Clarisa Brown. I am a 10th grader at Urson High School. I'm in the Spanish club, the diversity club, SOS, and student ambassadors. I'm Clarisa Brown. I'm a 10th grader at Urson High School. I'm also in the diversity club, the Spanish club. I'm the student council president, and I'm also a member of student ambassadors and SOS.
Oh, must be nice. You guys are important. You got it going on. Well, we're happy to have you with us. We're going to take you backstage real quick. And then last but not least, I need you to unmute for just a second. Elder Guy Burney, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a little something about yourself? And then we're going to move on from there, my friend.
Absolutely. Hello, Pastor. It's so good to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm Elder Guy Burney, son of Pastor William Burney, who I'm ever indebted to. I also work with the city of Youngstown. I run the community initiative to reduce violence. I'm the director. So I'm very excited about that. Along other things, I'm a trainer, travel, work with a lot of entities, the Supreme Court and Kent State University. But more than anything, man, I love God, and I have a wonderful family, 4 amazing children, and a beautiful wife of 20 years, Valerie. So I'm very excited. She works in the mental health area, and so we're busy, but we love the service that we do. So thanks for having us.
Fantastic. You don't have to mute. Just stay right there. I'm getting ready to bring our other guests right in here. So we are all in here together. Okay. Thank you again. The audience is loving on y'all like crazy. So we're grateful to God for that. Here is my first question. I'm going to shoot this one out to the twins. And let's see how, look. Clarissa's like, come on, man. I love it. And you can go in whatever order that you want to go in. To Camille and Clarisa, have you seen any mental stresses a little bit more now than what you saw before the pandemic began? And we're trying to keep this around like your African-American friends.
I would say yes. My friends kind of talk about, their more like emotional side in their life now since the pandemic started, and like how they're struggling and stuff like that. They mostly ask for help though, so I guess that's good too. I will also have to agree, and I think with what the school we go to, it's very important that we should have like people there to help us, who represent us, and sometimes it's hard to express your emotions especially as a person of color without coming on off of Christmas.
So let me add a little piece to this. Do they sometimes come to you for help?
Yeah, yes, I feel like they do.
How do you deal with that?
I usually just tell them that, everything happens for a reason. God has a purpose for you. Just keep strong and don't always look to God for help, because the devil wants you, when you're sad like that, he wants you to run away from him.
Yeah.
Like when you're sad, it doesn't mean that he's not there for you. It just means he's putting you through stuff to see how you can handle it. I also agree. Me and Clarisa, we're sometimes like the only friends that will lead our friends towards Christ because of our family. So I think they know that we're there and we're a strong pillar for them to lean on.
Very good. Well, the next one's for your mother. Okay. Let me ask you this question, First Lady. How have conversations changed? And when I talk about conversations change, it doesn't necessarily mean with your girls, okay, because of the work that you do. How have conversations changed from pre-pandemic to now when it comes down to young people?
Well, I guess it seems now that young people are more in tune and have much more on their minds that they're worrying about than they did before. Um, Pandemic, and even now what's going on with Russia, um, I would say that my girls, they didn't have a lot of, and my son, they didn't have a lot of concerns about health or um, worrying about feeling isolated or anything like that before the pandemic. But now, since the pandemic and everything, you know, they kind of went through some issues with, wanting to be around their friends, especially when we were on lockdown, wanting to be around their friends and everything like that. And of course they couldn't, but that was, I would say that's something that they didn't have to worry about before the pandemic, but now, and it even, we say we call it a new normal, but we still put, certain precautions. They still can't do a lot of things that they would have done prior to the pandemic.
So you have seen that those moments of isolation have really been detrimental into the minds of young people because they are so used to their freedoms.
Correct.
And when they're inhibited, because I know, didn't you guys do like TikTok and stuff like that? Yeah. Okay. So
Mhm.
y'all did little things as a family that really helped. But what about? And I know I'm going too far with this, First Lady, but I'll do. What have you seen from those families that did not have as strong of a family unit as you did? How did it affect them? Because you got your husband, you got you, and in these days and times, that kind of family structure doesn't exist like it used to. So what are you seeing with these young people who may, for a lack of another term, are a little more fragmented?
Okay. I can just even go off of, some of the people I work with. Um, severe depression. Severe depression has been an issue that I've seen. And I've technically, a lot of those kids have been the victims of abuse because they've been in homes where been isolated. And so, with my line of work, they people would say they're happy that the reporting of abuse went down, but it only went down because these children were in schools where they had people out there to report the abuse and things like that. The abuse was happening, and and I'm sure it was accelerated because they were in the homes with their parents, and everybody's frustrated. They don't have any kind of outlets or anything like that. So I would say that that's the difference.
Okay, that sounds good. Dr. Fletcher, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with our culture mentally?
Well, and that's a great question, because one of the things with Christian counseling and being involved in it for the past 20 plus years, and the more I study, I see something that is very rarely addressed when it comes to our culture, and that is PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. We have PTSD, and it goes back to our foreparents, never properly dealt with, passed down from generation to generation. And I believe where we are today, we see the effects of that within our communities. And so it's not addressed. So then, of course, we have not learned how to deal with it or to address it as a whole.
Let me ask you this question then, Dr. Fletcher. Is it because, and please, for those of you that are out here, this is not a racist statement, because I don't want y'all turning around, texting me, and later on talking about you don't like white people. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. I needed to get that out there because I know somebody's going to hit me up later. Is it because white cultures have more accessibility to healthcare? And we know that's kind of true, but is it that there weren't enough of us in the healthcare industry so that we feel a little more comfortable talking to somebody that looks like us? Help me with that dynamic, because I know what I've heard. And with you being a part of that professional group, that I want to see if you see the same thing.
Yeah, and both of those are correct, I believe. In terms of they have more accessibility to healthcare, and of course, there are not many people that look like us to address our problems. I mean, it's hard to understand us unless you're walking in our shoes, so to speak. So yeah, I think both those dynamics come into play. But even with that, there's a greater dynamic in terms of from a cultural standpoint. We are just now beginning to talk about our plights. Mm-hmm. Our way of dealing things, or how we were taught to deal with adversity, was that's just how it is. Accept it, and pretty much leave it alone. Even Sister Brown mentioned those that had been abused. In our culture, the way it was dealt with, you did not display it. You didn't talk about it. So, but now we're just beginning to do so. And perhaps the reason is, and I know, and this is a tough one, because I think that from the vantage point that in terms of counseling, in terms of dealing with mental health, learning how to communicate, learning how to do those things are relatively new for our community. Mm-hmm. It has not been very long since we came up from oppression. So we are now just learning to talk about things, or talk about things openly, so.
And how do I want to say this? A part of our culture has always, and I know when I say this, then the pastors are going to attack me. Okay. But we've always said, take it to Jesus. Mm-hmm. Take it to Jesus. Take it to Jesus. And that's good. We should. But sometimes, do you think we do need a human ear to help us?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, taking it to Jesus, yes. I mean, that's what we need to do. But again, from a Christian standpoint, we need trained people, because you oftentimes hear me make this statement about, and I deal with it with my church, is I deal with the pain in the pews. I'm able to see people's pain, stuff that has been buried in them for years, has never been dealt with. And we expect people to flourish. How can they flourish if they have pain or unresolved things going on in their lives? So, so I think that's one thing. I think we certainly need to provide education to individuals. Taking it to Jesus, yes, we do need that, but then we need to take it step by step on how to deal with various things that we encounter.
Elder Burney, I'm gonna cut the burner up just a little bit more on you. I'm just playing. I'm not gonna do that to you.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that
It's
to
okay.
you. But in the work that you do, have you seen an increase of crime because of racism / pandemic pressures? Because there's always been pressure in our community.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me from the vantage point where you see more than all of us when it comes down to that. Give us your perspective of everything isn't the pandemic.
Exactly.
What the pandemic did was pull the cover off of some things.
Yes, sir.
So can you help us with that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give an analogy before I start so we can kind of understand what I do. So I saw this. It was amazing. So you're walking down the road. You see one dead fish. That fish is dead. So you ask the question, what happened to that fish? You walk down the road and you see 3 dead fish. You may see those fish in their same place and you say, what happened to those fish? You go to a lake and you see 1 million dead fish in the water. If you ask me about the fish, we're going to have a problem, because your question should be, what's wrong with the water? We cannot go around this entire country and see pockets in urban areas, particularly areas of color, and see the exact same thing. And it's the people. It's the environments. And so these environments are conducive to what we continue to see over and over again. And so what happens is the pandemic, as you said, Pastor, you're solely right. It magnified the environments that causes all of these issues. And so we help people, which we have to do. But if we want to look at this comprehensively and really help, is we have to start looking at the environments that cause so much of the ills that we see in our communities. And part of that, love, you have the Brown family on, is making sure that we stabilize our families, because a lot of our issues can be resolved, not only with professional help, but by the support and the strength of a solid family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So the issue didn't just start.
Absolutely not.
It has been going on for decades with the erosion of the family,
Yes.
and the different things that have happened. And so what can the body of Christ do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because see, we've had a lot of good sessions, but now it's time to get some folk engaged, because we can always sit on the sideline and say, yeah, that's what we need to do.
That's right. That's right.
So until it's time for us to put some feet on our faith. So the point is, what can we do? Now we can't do it all, but is there something that we can begin that will help us to move forward to a more stable family and a more stable environment?
I love it. So the number one thing is relationships. And building those. I mean, that's the number one thing. And Dr. Fletcher, I'm soaking it all in, man. You're talking my language, my brother. So I appreciate you. What happens is there's a guy named Stephen Covey, Pastor. He's a strength. He's a leadership guru, and he says this is one of the most powerful things I heard. He says that every time we encounter somebody, it's like a bank account. So we're either making deposits or we're making withdrawals. So every single time we come into somebody's presence, we're either depositing their lives or we're taking something. The travesty is, if we take and take and take, we go bankrupt with people, and then they can't get anything from us. And so we have whole communities, whole groups of people that I believe that, and I'm part of the church, so I could talk about us, is that we're bankrupt with certain groups of people because we haven't deposited into them. And so I think it's time, in terms of relationships, that we take these deposits and we go in and we build these. I guess we're on here with you, and Thessalonians, right? 5:11, what it says, encourage one another and build each other up. And so that is like our mission. I say relationships because, unfortunately, because of the systems that we're in, Black men in general are being snatched from communities, whether by death, by incarceration. And so there's a huge gap that we have missing. And so for those who are on this line, and it doesn't matter male or female, if we start to stand in the gap and help to build those relationships, that's one of the best connections we can make. We're not asking people to be counselors, or if you don't have that in your wheelhouse, you don't have to be, but you can be a conduit to get someone to the necessary person to deal with the trauma, to deal with the back history that we have to deal with, so we can move forward. So, in a short term, I just think relationships, building relationship, mentoring. If you haven't Sunday school, if you bring somebody to church, just grab somebody. It doesn't take much, and it doesn't have to be outside your circle. Your nieces, nephews, cousins. It's just touching those folks. So that's
fantastic. I'm back to the twins. They were like, please keep talking to the grown people. Just keep talking to the grown people, okay? I'm going to ask you this question. Have you noticed a change in mood or mood swings among your friends? Do you see anger more than what you saw before?
I feel as though, I see anger more in my friends. And it's usually the ones who struggle with, like, at-home problems too, and like having really no one to go to, so they just kind of ball that up. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That was quick. You know what they just said? We got our answer out of the way, so now go on about your business. Okay, all right. But
she had something else, I think.
My one friend, she kind of like has problems at home, so she like her mood's trying to like different. It depends like who she's around to. Mm-hmm. She has like anger. She talks about like depression a lot. So I was really trying to help her with that, because I know like at home, if you don't have like a stable household and stuff like that, or somebody to tell you to help you out, you really don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. And we also try like to be with her as much as we can, because we know that when she's around like positivity, that she like will flourish more than when she's not around as much positivity.
Have the two of you noticed, because we are all connected by these things, okay? We live on these. Trust me, I live on mine. Has that affected communication among young people? Because what I hear the two of you saying is that even though they have these devices, they still need personal contact. Am I reading you guys right?
Yes. I think sometimes it's just hard to put your feelings into words, and sometimes you don't want to come across the wrong way. So if like, you can see somebody's face to face, you can tell the way they're coming across. And I feel like sometimes when you just have so much emotion balled up, it's just too much to put into one device or into one text.
Okay. First Lady.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, he's trying to set me up again. Okay. Piggybacking off of what your girl said, in this electronic age, has it been a blessing or has it kind of been a curse in your perspective? Because it's obviously, I was in the airport one time, and two siblings were sitting. One was in one chair, there was a vacant chair, then there was another chair, and they were texting each other. Mm-hmm. And so how has this, in your perspective, crippled us when it comes down to communication?
Well, it's basically crippled us in knowing how to address each other. I think we've gotten accustomed to just typing everything as opposed to being able to look somebody in the eye and ask a question, or if you need to confront them about something. We've lost that because I've learned that a lot of people are keyboard terrorists. You know, in my experiences, I'll see things people write and things like that, then they can be like very cruel. But when you see them in person, they're either like real squeamish, or they're overly compensating. So I think what happens with the technology is people aren't being true when they do see you face to face. I think evidently they're showing how they truly feel on their electronics, but they don't have the wherewithal to or the ability or skills to communicate face to face. And I think now we're at least our generations, we had times before electronics, so we were able to develop a lot of those skills. But this age and younger, they're not getting that.
I heard an older gentleman years ago that would say, "A drunk man speaks his sober mind." And so, could it be that these devices are the new alcohol?
Oh.
Because people get bold on these things.
They do. Mm-hmm.
But then when you confront them one-on-one, all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not really what I said.
Right.
Or that's not really what I meant.
Right. You took that the wrong way.
Yeah. So it's different. And for those of us that are older, we struggle with the communication styles of younger people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you a story, and then I'm gonna get to Dr. Fletcher and Elder Burney. There's a whole lot of misinformation out here on TikTok. One of our grandsons said that on TikTok, it said, if you get the shot, you die. If you don't get the shot, you die. So what? Yeah, and I was not aware of that. That many of our young people are getting information from sources that are not credible. I said, well, why don't you read this, or why don't you read? I'm reading that. I got it off TikTok. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice, but Dr. Fletcher, I'm getting ready to flip this one over to you. Okay, what can we do to better help us mentally to seek out credible information that will better us? I know that was a loaded one. I'm sorry, but I got one for Elder Burney too. He ain't getting off the hook that easy. Okay.
To seek out credible information that will help us. Well, you look at this forum here, and I listen to you a lot, and I probably have taken this on in the last couple of years more so than ever. Really total pastoral care, from my perspective, in that we are dealing with subject matters now that is just not from a biblical perspective. We have to provide information, because what we've got to understand is that we get erroneous information, like you said with TikTok, and in some cases, no information whatsoever. So we now have to spend that time, take that time to educate ourselves so that we can educate our people. And again, that's something that I've seen you do, and I've drawn from that, where that I'm constantly doing that. Here's an example. With all the violence that we have in our cities, I'm constantly telling particularly our women, things that, someone may say, why is he saying that? But here's an example. I tell our females, I said, now, if you're driving and you come at a stop sign or a stop light, make sure that you stop. If there's a car in front of you, give yourself enough room so that if you have to get out and go around them, do so. Again, those are things that we have to do now. We have to provide information. And I find myself constantly doing that. I look at current events and things of that nature, and then, try to share stuff that I believe that would help our people. So
that's the one thing that as a pastor and the president of our state convention, I keep my ear to the ground,
right,
so that I can share what I've learned from sources that won't speak.
Right.
Because a lot of times truth doesn't come from a lot of noise. As a matter of fact, the Bible says God speaks in a small, still voice. Okay. Now, I'm going to share this with you, and I have no problem with sharing this. There was a particular period of time when I was going through some things mentally because we were burying people. And so I actually felt like I was losing sensitivity, that it almost became mechanical. I talked to Dr. Fletcher. Now, see, we don't all have somebody that we can go to. He does this professionally. And he helped me to understand me, because I think I know me kind of well. But in these days and times, there's a new me. Okay. And so what he helped me to understand is that the way I'm wired is I feel it's my responsibility to get them through this. But then there wasn't that time to deprogram before the next one happened, and the next one happened, and the next one happened. And so I had to learn to just keep myself still and regroup. With that being said, Elder Burney, okay, what do young people need? And I know you talked about this, but what do young people need, not to just survive, but to thrive? I'm gonna preface this. We talked about this in our Men of Valor weekend, the workshops that we had on Saturday. These young, especially young men, are Fortune 500 minded young people.
Absolutely.
They could run a corporation and not have a college degree.
Correct.
Okay. So what can we do to get them to understand that the brain, the talent, the gifts that God has given them is not for them just to survive, but to thrive? And I know that was a loaded one, but I'm gonna give it to you because I know you can handle it.
So you get, oh wow. So I'm gonna try to answer this. I'm gonna try to put it together. You gave me a whole series right there. If you were my pastor, I say, man, I'm gonna need like 4 weeks for this one. Okay, let's condense it. So I'm gonna do it. I do a lot of analogies, but it helps me to process this. So you have a mother camel and her son. They're standing, and he's starting to ask her about his body. He says, Mom, I got this hump on my back and it's growing. And he says, baby, you are a desert animal. And so your hump helps you to sustain by giving you food and water. He said, that's amazing. He says, Mom, I notice I have long eyelashes. He says, they're longer than the other animals. She says, baby, it's okay. You're a desert animal. They keep the sand out of your eye. He says, one more question, Ma. I have these flat, round hooves. All the other animals' hooves are shaped different. She says, baby, you're a desert animal, so your hooves help you to walk right on the sand. They're flat, and it gets you through. He says, that is amazing. My hump is for my sustainment. My eyelashes for my vision, and my hooves are for my travel. She says, yes, baby. He started to look sad, though. She says, honey, I just told you these amazing things about yourself. What's wrong? He says, Mom, why do we live in the zoo then? Your gifts Talents, what you have that God gives you, only works when you put yourself in the right position. And so what we have right now is we have amazing talent, amazing gifts, but they're out of place. And so it's our job to put these gifts back in place. We all know young people who are athletically gifted that never step on the court. We all know young people who can do math in the back of their head that never go to business school. We know these. So as a community, when I notice this gift that is God given, it's our job to help to put you back in a position. And so that's what I believe the thing is. You have it already in you because God created us right, because he's amazing. But now it's our job as a community, as pastors, as people, as even the young ladies. I get the amazing opportunity. The Brown twins, they're in the diversity group I run. So they are just amazing. But we talk about that. What are the things that we can do to make it better? So that short story, I'm gonna stop there, Pastor, because I can keep going. But that's what I believe we have to do, is put our young people in the proper position.
That will preach too. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's gonna come up someplace else. I'm gonna give you credit for it. I'm like, Elder Guy Burney, this is not an original thing, but I'm gonna run with that one. Okay, because that really permeated my conscience to recognize that how can you exercise your gifts when you're caged or incarcerated.
That's right.
It saddens me to see so much wealth and ability in the ground.
Yes.
It saddens me to see so much capacity in jail.
Wow.
Now there is a system rigged to make sure we go to jail. Now the system is moving a lot more toward African American women for incarcerations. What can we do, twins, to stay out of jail?
I feel like with us being younger, our opinions are way stronger, and adults take that as being disrespectful, but we just see it as voicing ourselves. I just think that some people take it the wrong way, but we look at stuff differently since like we're younger and we're living in this time, so we think differently. And when like adults were younger and stuff, like we think of stuff, we always think of the bad stuff now. Like most of the time we don't see the bright side and stuff because what happens is not always bright. So we're just used to seeing like bad stuff happening left and right, and not just like in our mind we're like have a different like mindset.
I think it's also the way if we do voice our opinions, or it's all the way on how it's presented or how it comes off. Like how they always tell us, like Black kids, like we learn how to drive, you got to know how to interact with the police. You have to be very respectful because you never know if you're the next person that will be the victim. So it all just depends on your body language and how you assert yourself in different situations.
The amazing thing is, listening to you, I got great grandchildren that are close to your age. I had to think about that because just about all of our grandchildren are except for a few, are in their 20s and 30s. Okay. Yes. Call me Abraham and call Lady Harrison Sarah. Okay. And I have to do this with my grandchildren, is they are very forceful in their communication. extremely forceful. But sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And a lot of times, in my day, when the police pulled me over, there was no resistance. You want to know why? I had a daddy at home whose hands were huge. And when he told me, I will knock you out, I believed him. Okay. So there's a different perspective. And that's where generations need to understand how to communicate with each other so that we don't always take everything we hear personally. But it's hard to do when you're wounded. It's hard to do when you're trying to get your point across. Am I making sense to you, Lady Brown? Does that resonate with you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, great grands are 8 and under. I'm so sorry, Lady Harrison. I could not remember. Then it's the grand. She just straightened me out. She said, our great grands are 8 and under, sir. Okay. So it's grandchildren. Whatever age they are, they still smart mouth. Okay.
Mhm.
So how does that make sense to you, Lady Brown?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I tell them, I try to tell them that all the time. Like you just said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Even, when they're asking for something, I'll say, excuse me, what did you mean to say? And then they'll say the same thing, but in a totally different tone. And it's all good. It's all good. But yeah. And even when they go out and, they have their permits, but when they start driving and being on their own, they need to act, do that with authority, with the police, with their bosses, all that kind of stuff. I said, get your point across, but do it respectfully. So.
Dr. Fletcher,
yes, sir.
What happened to respect?
Wow. Yes,
in case y'all missed that, he took this deep breath like, and Carletta, I ain't paying you no attention. Go ahead.
But but that's a major problem because respect is taught at home. Homes are fractured and broken today. So if the homes are fractured and see respect or teaching one to respect, you can't teach someone to have respect at 18, 15 years old. It starts as a child. A couple of things the twin said, in terms of communication when they speak to older people, it's interesting because what we fail to do as adults is look at them as an extension of us. And looking at them as an extension of us, their expression is different because they have more freedom to express. So we need to take that in account. And again, the other thing with respect, back to Elder Burney, you talk about the Mother Campbell. What the Mother Campbell was doing was teaching the young Campbell about temperament. Your temperament, you is for the desert. So again, we see all these dynamics coming into play, and perhaps a lot of it is new to us as people of color. Sister Brown, you got 2 beautiful daughters, twins, but are their personalities the same?
Not at all.
Their temperament is different. Right. So how they are going to respond to things are not going to be the same. And that's one of the areas that we need to focus on as well, is dealing with why do I act the way that I act? It goes back to temperament.
That's good.
Last but not least, Elder Burney. What do gangs provide that we don't?
A sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So there's in research, there's 5 needs that neighborhoods or communities or people have that keep them away from violence. The first one being, I gotta feel safe.
Yeah.
So safety is just not physical, though it's psychological and it's emotional, right? And so you were talking about social media. It has allowed safety to creep into your house, because now even if I don't see a young man or young lady, they can bully me or harass me through my phone. And so now safety becomes an issue. And when I'm not safe, there's an issue. The next one is, do I have power? Am I successful at something? And so in our communities, one of the pieces are, we have to create areas where kids can be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just that I can be good at something, and not just negative things. What am I good at? Because if I feel successful, you're going to have less problems with me. The third one is belonging. If I don't belong to something positive, I will belong. And so gangs and groups and these little cliques have taken the place, because I'm looking for love, because we're all looking for love, because when God put us here, his spirit is inside us, and we're always longing to connect back to it. So belonging. And then it's freedom. Do I have choices in my life? In my neighborhoods, do I have the choice of what I want to do or where I want to go? Do I have the choice of how I function? Because anytime a place has no choice, there's always a revolt. And so we're experiencing revolts all over the place because people don't have choices. And finally, fun. I got to have some form of engagement that will allow me to enjoy myself. I've been telling young people, as I've been traveling, I've been asking a simple question. What is your hobby? What do you like to do for yourself? I ask adults that as well, because we've lost it. We've gotten so busy. We've stopped doing the things that we've enjoyed for ourselves. And so we have to have those types of engagement. I'll say one more thing. Anger is a secondary emotion. And so when we're looking at what's happening in our community, especially with this gang and the violence, is that anger seems to be the primary emotion that's happening. But if we understand it, Doc, I saw Doc shaking his head, and you just can't get angry. What these young men are hurt and humiliated, and they're disgusted, but it comes out as anger because anger is the acceptable emotion in our culture. So my rappers are angry. My TikToks are angry. My social media is angry. It's okay for me not to smile. Everything is angry, so it's accepted. When it's not anger that we're really dealing with, we're hurt that I haven't seen my dad in forever. Or, it seems not to be enough money going around. Or I want to go to this school and I can't. Or, I want to get a job, but it's hard to find. And so it's just coming out as anger. And so we have to start dealing with the emotional well-being of our community to really start to help this process. So the girls were absolutely right in how, dealing with this and what they're seeing.
Well, that was excellent. We are grateful, and don't any of you get off just yet, because I'm gonna put all of you backstage for a second. But I want to thank God for Camille and Clarisa. I want to thank God for Lady Brown. I want to thank God for Dr. Fletcher and Elder Burney for being a part of this conversation. And so First Lady can breathe now, and she can enjoy the rest of the evening because this moment is over. But grateful to God for each and every one of you. So let me put you backstage for just a moment, and then I'll be back in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Let me say to each and every one of you that have been on today that we are grateful that you took time out of your schedules, out of all of the things that you could have been doing today to be a part of this presentation. The Lord is leading me. I'll probably continue to do this twice a month until the Lord says not to, because I believe And I'm going to be bringing on more people, more conversations, so that we can learn from each other. And then what I hope to do, and I'm going to work with Elder Burney on this, is to sit down and begin to have these dialogues, have these moments when we can talk to each other. And instead of talking at each other, we can listen to each other. And I think that is overwhelmingly important. So I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me this time. And I'm going to go back to them for just a second so I can tell them how much we love and appreciate what they have done. So listen, y'all have a great week. Stay safe, social distance, sanitize. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't want to get the vaccination, I'm all right with that. I'm really not, but I have no choice. But you got to stay safe. Wash your hands, sanitize, social distance. Do what you need to do so you can stay safe in these maddening times. Okay. So y'all be blessed. I'm going to go back here and talk to them. Y'all have a great evening. Love you one and all. Have a great week. I'll be talking to you soon.